Hello, this is Dharam, and I have Daniel with me. We're going to talk about PfMP today, all about PfMP. And so we'll get started. The program is all about Daniel is going to share his lesson learned. So he is recent PfMP, and he learned a lot from this journey and how and what he did. And so he will express his, all about what he did and what books he referred and how he come to this point to pass the PfMP exam with all about target. It's a great result to have. Uh, I'm honored to be part of the journey. So it was really awesome to work with him, and then I will share a few things how, from my point of view, probably some repeat what Daniel going to say, but it's all about you to how to find out, all about find out what exactly you have to do to pass your PfMP exam. First, prepare your application and what exactly you have to do to pass the exam. So, with no further delays, and you can see lovely picture from Tasmania when he was in Tasmania. Yes, I really like this photo, and even now. So, agenda how it's going to go, a brief intro about Daniel and myself. Daniel will start his presentation with tip for success, and I will start talking about how to write application and how to check your readiness and how my mentoring program can help you. And then we open the floor for question and answer. So we have option of putting the questions. Please keep writing your questions as and when you have. Oh, can you not hear us? So looks like somebody said we are mute. Rahul, you saying we are mute or should we? I'm not sure what is the question. Oh, okay, you can put again another question.
I think I can be heard. Yes, Dharam. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So I'm sure. I think it's okay. Okay, now it's clear. Perfect. All right. So yes, as I mentioned, Daniel is working in US Compufit Solutions, and he's a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. And last year he decided to take the journey of PfMP, and he will talk about his journey. And he bumped into my profile, and he took my assistant with application, and then he asked me to help him with his learning preparation. So he attended my personal mentoring program. Okay, so and about me, most of people know about my what I've been doing for last 10 years, teaching PGMPs and PFMP. So as of like, yeah, this week I got 213 PGMPs, and this is around 8% of global PGMPs. And Daniel happened to be my first PFMP. So thanks, Daniel, to make me feel proud of having you as my PFMP. Um, while we, as a company, we have been teaching PFMP for some time. From Telstra in Australia, we have done a number of programs. Mansoor is another trainer who look after PFMP trainings. But since I got my PFMP in October, I said, let me also give it a go. And I think I'm enjoying PFMP as well. So you will see me more often in PFMP space. All right. So over to you, Daniel, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dharam. Appreciate the nice introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. As Dharam said, my name is Daniel Peters. I live in Connecticut. Actually, it's very close to New York City. I worked in New York City for about 20 years. Lived in New York City for about 20 years, doing a lot of kind of high, kind of a lot of different types of work for um, different IT-related initiatives for mostly in legal and finance. Um, my final position before I left New York City was a chief technology officer for a financial services company that's kind of a household name in the U.S. Um, in 2012, I took really an executive position with CompuFit. We do outsource IT and managed service provider work for about 100 companies in the New York City area, and the business has grown quite a bit over the last 7 years, really doubling in size every couple of years to now that we're a much larger company than we were even just 3 years ago. And as the business has grown, we've had to mature our offerings and really kind of spin off separate companies within a company to be able to continue to offer the services that we need to the people who need them. So as that's grown, and as my own experience has grown, I should mention I got the PMP in 2012. I'd been a project manager for many years before that. So as CompuFit grew, and as my own sort of position within the company grew, it kind of looked like it was time to start considering a more formal approach to managing what was really a portfolio of companies within a company. And I looked into the options for doing this from a number of different providers, and I just felt that the standards being provided by PMI best suited what I needed. So I decided to pursue the PfMP. And that was about a year ago now. So that's when I first started really looking at this. Yeah, as you can see in the timeline here, it's about March of 2018 when I started looking at all the requirements, and I started asking myself, is this for me? At about the same time, I purchased the PfMP standard to read through. I read the PfMP standard 4, which turned out to be the wrong one to read, and a couple of different study guides that were out there. There are a few out there. There aren't very many. I'm not sure how many PfMPs there are. I think there are something like 800 listed on the PMI site. I'm sure there are more than that, but is that right, Dharam? Or
yeah, it's around 670 as of mid-February. So I think around 675. Okay. Still under 1,000.
Yeah, so they're writing books for an audience of 675. So that's a labor of love, I guess. But there are a few out there. So I've read what I could, and in April I started the application process. In April of 2018, I submitted my first application, and between May and October, I had to resubmit 3 separate times. I really struggled with getting an application accepted. I was very confident in my experience, and very confident that the work that I was doing met the level of portfolio manager. But I found the application process to be really the most difficult part for me at least, of obtaining the PfMP. I believe it was after the second rejection in July when I found Dharam online and asked him to help me with my application. I was honestly considering just abandoning it at several points in the process. And I'm not the kind of person who takes no, very easily. But eventually I found Dharam, and he helped me with some of the writing, and just kind of gave me some confidence to proceed. And finally, in November of 2018, my application was eventually accepted, and I was very happy for that. At about the same time, I think Dharam you got your PfMP. I think maybe a month before me.
I did my October 24th.
Right. So just a few weeks before me. So it was almost the ideal time to start. Dharam kind of spun up a mentoring program for the PfMP, and I believe I was the first student. And he had some material that to go through that was very helpful. So we did that program in November, December, and January. This last January we finished, and it was a once-a-week program, 1 hour a week. And Dharam presented some material that he had written that was very helpful, and then we went through all of it and did some questions at the end that were really made all the difference. There are a few different options out there for study materials. I found that my knowledge of the program, of the material itself, was really improved after I went through Dharam's. Did a very good job of kind of combining both the information from the standard as well as the information from the ECO into a form that was kind of comprehensible. If anybody's out there has read the standard or gone through it yet, it is very dense. I told my wife, it's like looking at a picture on a deflated balloon. You can kind of tell what they're trying to show you, but you can't really see the whole thing like it's supposed to be. So that was my experience with that. I kept working at it, and finally in February, I went down and took the exam, and I'm very happy to say I passed. It was a difficult exam. It took me all 4 hours to get through it, and I'm not the kind of person who normally takes all the time. And yeah, I spent more time with the exam than I expected. I marked a lot of questions to be reviewed, and then after reviewing them, I really had to reread them carefully and change my answer on reviewing my questions a lot more often than I normally would on this kind of exam. So I'd say the whole process was really very challenging. But yeah, I passed the exam above target in all 5 domains, so that I'm very proud of that, and proud to say now that I am a PfMP.
Right.
So
Good.
Right. So for the PfMP exam prep, again, the standard for portfolio management, 3rd edition. It's very important that you do the 3rd edition and not the 4th edition. And the reason for that is because the test is based on the 3rd edition, and also the 4th edition. My sense of it is that they're being more modular, so just buying the standard is not really enough. Then they expect you to also buy the risk management portion of the standard, which is a separate book, and the governance portion of the standard, which is a separate book. And not all of these books are published yet. So if you do just stick with just the 4th edition of the standard, I think you won't. I don't think people would get the information that they need to know what's going to be on the exam.
Yeah, and moreover, the 4th edition was published last year, and no, rather last year is actually in 2017, and they have not announced the date when the exam will change. So the day they announce the date, I think they will give 6 months to 6 months time before they start testing you on 4th edition. So keep an eye on my LinkedIn post. I normally publish such dates. As and when I know, as REP, I come to know that in a little advance. So I will let everybody know about that change.
So the next on the list is the examination content outline. That's simply an online document that can be downloaded. It's very terse. It's very brief. It's also very important to know. So Dharam does a very good job of taking what's in the ECO and putting it on a sheet where it's easy to follow the logic of the of the material. The PMBOK 6th edition. I did my PMP in 2012, so I think I had the PMBOK 4th edition, and when I bought the 6th edition for this, and I was amazed to see how much of a difference there was between the 4th edition and the 6th edition. So if anybody out there has an older version of the PMBOK, I would strongly recommend getting the latest one or downloading it and reading through the chapters that you need to read through. It's kind of, it feels kind of obvious when to me it felt kind of obvious going through the PfMP standard that there were some areas where they just simply almost referred to the PMBOK. So it's kind of a requirement. Dharam's Pathfinder is a material that I was referring to. It's very helpful, perhaps for each each domain, or for each domain, there's perhaps 70 to 120 pages of material that will really give a good outline of the topics to know. The complete reference guide for the PfMP, good as well. The PfMP Challenger, that is a practice questions that I was referring to earlier. Again, just very, very helpful to test the knowledge and kind of see the areas that you're not. Well, for me, it was very helpful to see the areas that I wasn't perhaps quite as clear on as I need to be. And then the e-learning recorded videos. One book that. Sorry, Dharam, you're saying?
Yeah, just a correction here on the slide. It's showing PGMP, the Pathfinder PGMP Complete Reference Guide. That's actually typo. It should be called as PfMP Pathfinder or PfMP Challenger or Complete Reference Guide for PfMP. So apologies for this.
Finally, the PfMP exam test prep. This is again just mainly some practice questions by Ginger Levin. She was kind of well known in the space for both PMP, PGMP, I believe also, and PfMP. So she writes some very, very, very difficult practice questions. They're, I think, perhaps more designed to make you think than they are to actually be answered. But yeah, definitely a very good source to have for test prep.
So yeah, just comment on Ginger's exam. It is hard exam. It's much harder than real exam, but I still prefer to go through this book. My strategy: if you have to fail, fail now. I don't want you to go to exam and you struggle there. So if you fail in this exam during your preparation, that's still okay, as long as you recover from the it will kick your confidence, but you need to bring yourself back, see where I'm missing in my learning, and that's where your learning will happen. An exam you will feel the exam is very, very easy. So I will share my thoughts a little later about how Ginger's exam actually helped me to recover myself. I'll leave that for that part. I'll come back to you. Okay. All right, next.
Okay. So these are just some for those who are perhaps a little bit farther along. These are just, this is almost like imagining that you're really trying to take this test in, say, a month. Some of the things, the notes that I took for myself that really did help me to pass the exam. One of the ITTO, the inputs, techniques, and outputs, and tools and techniques and outputs. You need to know the chart. You need to know the order of that. I think that will be clear to anybody preparing for the exam that that's going to be something that's important. The structure of a charter, there seem to be 100 questions asked that boil down to what is the structure of the charter. And if it's not clear what the charter is or what it should look like or what it is intended to do, then that will become a problem to answer those questions, both in the practice exams and the real exams.
Just on this point, yeah, charter is important, but there are a few other documents. Every document is very, very important, whether it's a portfolio management plan, whether it's a strategic plan or charter or whatever it is. All of these documents are very, very important. We need to know the content of the document and what is the sequence of these documents, and also the key differentiator between these documents. Because when you look at some of these documents, the contents are very, very similar, but there are slight change between, let's say, charter and portfolio management plan. So you need to know what is the difference between these two. Because in the exam, you may get a question with the scenario and saying you're developing this document and these are the content and which document you're developing. So knowing each and every document, especially the 6 document we have, is very, very important. Yeah.
And the last 3 items I focused on because it seemed like every practice question I missed somehow boiled down to one of these, missing it because of one of these mistakes was the key descriptors, the process, assets, and reports, and the analysis techniques. You just really need to kind of be able to expect to be asked about these in so many different ways that it's almost you have to be completely prepared to recognize when you're being asked about one of these topics. I think I had maybe one or two questions maybe 3 questions on the entire exam that involved any math. I'm not sure, Dharam, if your experience was that way. I wouldn't have called it a real math-heavy exam, but there were a few questions that did have some mathematical components to them.
No, I had a few questions. It didn't talk about CPI, SPI, that's a cost performance index and schedule performance index from interpretation point of view. It's not about calculating. It's more about what does this mean? What exactly is happening? What instruction is going to tell to the project managers to whether to manage the cost, to manage the schedule, and so and so. Not many questions in numbers, but yes, yeah, few of them more about interpretation.
So again, the requirements of this exam are to have a very strong conceptual overview of the processes and inputs and outputs as real-world items, meaning you kind of have to really understand what the documents would look like, what the intention of the documents would be, and how this would flow into additional processes that are going to then naturally come afterwards. It's not a memorization exam. It just isn't. So whatever techniques you may have for memorizing long lists of things, it just isn't really going to make the difference on this exam. Some memorization may help just to make things go more smoothly or more quickly, but you really have to understand. You can't just memorize a chart. You have to understand it.
Okay, right.
Would you like me? I'll keep going, Dharam. Okay.
Yeah, continue with this exam. The type of question you had, just to high level, majority of question. I mean, to me, it was. Yeah, go ahead, please.
There were a lot of scenario-based questions, long questions with 4 long answers. Some of them were 2, 3, 4-part questions and answers. They would outline a specific type of company in a specific place within a specific industry, and then ask for an answer. Yeah, I mean that's probably about half of the questions were that. The standard the standard artifacts. Yeah, there were some questions that were really just asking more vocabulary, I guess, for lack of a better word, questions. What is this? It boils down to what is this, and then you have to pick the right one out of the 4. But those were the minority, not the majority. A lot of them were different tasks, like just do you understand the process, how are things going to flow through the process that PMI envisions for the PfMP for portfolio management. And the last one was mathematical, probably about 5% or less. And I think of the 5%, in my experience, one of the questions was extremely difficult and time-consuming. And I spent a little bit of time on it, but with the amount of time that the exam takes, I can't imagine having really spent the time to carefully have checked and rechecked all of my math on that one question of all of them to of the 160 questions or whatever it was to go through it. So I wouldn't say don't know the math, but I would say be careful to manage time if you do see some of those questions.
Yeah. So it's very important to go with a plan because this 4-hour exam and 170 questions. So if you go with a plan like 50 to 60 questions in an hour, And it doesn't matter if you are not going with the same plan. The idea is to recover back as soon as possible. As Daniel mentioned, there are questions, long scenario question. Some of them are also one-liner question. So if I remember correctly, there were a number of questions, very straightforward, about the process, about the input and output. So if you know all these things, you will not have any problem in the exam. So yeah. So all right. So your lesson learned.
Yes, my lessons learned. So before the PfMP, I would say, read and have a good understanding of the standard before you do an application. This was part. I think that could have been. I could have done better if I knew now what I knew then. If I knew then what I know now, I would have read the standard first and even studied for the exam before I submitted an application, because it's hard to understand exactly what they're asking for without spending some time with it. If you don't believe that your work is at the portfolio management level, then I would look into the PMP or PGMP credentials instead. The portfolio management, I don't think most people would really do that kind of work. Even executive level people, I think, probably most of them do more program management than they do portfolio management. There are only 675 or 680 of us worldwide, and it's because it's just not really where most people are with what the work they're doing.
So Daniel, the reflection, the number of PfMP is not reflecting the difficulty level. What is reflecting is PfMP was started only in 2013, compared to PGMP that was started in 2007. So the journey of PfMP and PGMP almost on the same level. Rather, I think PfMP is more faster than PGMP. So it's nothing to do with the work people doing. There are lots of portfolio managers. They are very well qualified, and yeah. So 675 is, if I remember, PGMP was 675 in 5 years time, and also PfMP is in 4.5 years. So it's not I think it's still on the same path.
Okay. One of the things about my application experience was that the audit was almost a guarantee, so I would prepare for an audit from the outset. Just if you have to put references down for your experience, and just expect them to have to, to be contacted. It's just if you need to look up their phone number or warn them in advance, and I would do that. And finally, I'd say this isn't for everybody. I mean, I don't think that this is. There are other options. So I don't know any of the attendees. I don't know your experience, but I would just consider other options also if you're on the fence. In terms of the application process, I would start by writing the application in a Word document in plain text. That is to say, no fancy formatting or bullets or anything like that. The online application process isn't friendly in that way. Any kind of fancy formatting you put in your Word document will be immediately stripped when you try to submit your application in their online forms. Secondly, they have a handbook. I can't remember off the top of my head how many pages, but I think it's like 45 pages. And I would sit down and read that handbook very carefully, because if you don't, then they're going to reject your application based on things that you didn't pay attention to from the handbook. Additionally, there are online help sections in the online application process that also must be read. So, I guess my advice is, don't use the online application process to submit your application, but just use it for the help sections. Fourth, irrelevant information. or unnecessary experience won't help. So keep it to the point, even if your application is shorter than you would hope it was. It's better. You're better with a short but highly relevant application than you are with fluff. And finally, I'd say get help from Dharam. I would not have been able to complete this without Dharam's help. So there were times before I started working with Dharam where I was complaining to my coworkers that this is almost like working with a local court system. You almost need a local lawyer to help you navigate the complexities of it, to get the permits that you need. I wouldn't try to do this. I would not advise trying to do this yourself.
Yeah, it is a lengthy process, and complex as well. But if you have taken, I'm sure if you take my advice, it's not that difficult. And some of the people in the group, and you're listening, they're already on the path of writing application. So once it's more about put your thoughts around and start putting them in a proper sequencing. And as Daniel mentioned, reading handbook can help you, and also examination content out ECO will help you to get some terminology. But don't write theoretical application. It's not about what is portfolio management. It's about how and what you did in this process, and getting your justification or charter or whatever it is, or risk. What was your contribution? What process you followed? It's not about which tool you use. Don't worry too much about tools. It's about the process you have followed to complete your task. Okay, Daniel, next.
Okay. For exam prep, as I think we've already said, comprehension is key. So however many times you need to read that material, or whatever you need to do to kind of absorb it, that's really important. The material is terse and dense, so it was not a real page turner. You may have to spend a significant amount of time just on one single paragraph or one half a page to really get what they're trying to do, the message you're trying to deliver. And also, one thing that helped me was to keep notes in front of me to avoid getting lost in the material. That is to say, it's like an outline of the material that I was reading, so I didn't get so absorbed in one piece of it that I completely forgot its place in the bigger picture. For exam strategies, the exam is long, so I would expect to take the full time. It's a 4-hour exam. I took in a testing center, and people all around me were coming in, sitting down to take their exam, then getting up and finishing and going, while I was still very much there, stuck in my seat. So the questions are worded in a difficult way, so I'd read and reread and think it through. I marked a lot of questions for review, and I changed my answer a lot more times in this exam than I would on similar exams. So I took that as a sign that the exam was difficult to take the time with the questions. I only had 2 or 3 math-based questions. They were hard, but there weren't that many of them. Take the time to review your marked questions. As far as I'm concerned, the advice to favor some people would give the advice that when you're, to use your first impulse when you think something's right, just pick that one and don't go back and rethink it and change your answer, because then you're going to get it wrong. That might be good advice for most exams. For this one, I would take my time to really reread the question to make sure that you understand what they're asking. And again, this test is about concepts. Memorizing the terms and being able to do the math will not be enough to get you through.
Perfect. All right. So it may be hard, but the journey is worth. I'm glad to see Daniel finishing his journey with very high note, with above target and all above target, and the 5. You get to see the result based on your domains as well. So he got overall target, above target, and all 5 as above target. So well done, and thanks for opting me as your mentor.
Oh, thanks for having me here tonight or
Correct.
today.
So if you can stay here for some time, I think we do have questions coming. One of the question, I will take the question later on. We have been talking about those things anyway. So let me take you through journey about what is PfMP. Yes, Daniel has given you very good his path, and from my side, what I did and how I can help you with your PfMP. So if you're not part of these 2 social media groups, one in the LinkedIn, which is PfMP for you, the group called PfMP for you, and there's a WhatsApp group as well. There are 77 people in the group, so please feel free to join this group. For WhatsApp, you have to add my number and send me a message that Dharam, please add me on the group. So I will let you there. All right, so a little bit about my journey. I think, I mean, it was not problem for me to write application, but I was intentionally delaying my application. It took me full 6-7 months to finalize my application. I wanted, my focus was at the time PGMP material was changing, so that's why I was delaying. But anyway, I did my application, and December we were going on holiday. So before going to holiday, I just submit my application. Let's see what happened. And by the time I came back, that's the 10 days. I came back, and there was an email from PMI. That your application is approved. You can pay the fees and go for panel review. So I paid the fees on 29th of December, and my audit was my panel review was completed within 2 days. So, so the result I was not expecting, because as I said, I was in that time the PGMP exam changed, so I wanted to make sure that my PGMP exam my book is ready before the exam change. So anyway, so I got my panel review complete, and I was delaying until I realized that it's almost 2 months, 3 months to go before I lose my eligibility. Anyway, so in October, on the first week, or I think 2nd October, I decided to book my exam. And at the time, I was not prepared at all. But anyway, I booked my exam for 24th October. And between that date and the 24th October, I was actually run 3 classes. One is PMP class in Brisbane, one 3 days program in Sydney, one 3 days PGMP class in Melbourne. So my preparation was very slow, and my advantage for me is because I've been teaching for a long time, and I've done a number of certifications. So I kind of understand the philosophy of these questions, how PMI ask and what to interpret. Anyway, so I was feeling that I'm going very good in my preparation, and somehow was like okay with preparation, and I decided to do just one mock exam. That was 20 question exam, and to my surprise, I scored really badly, and that was 3 days before the exam. You can imagine the stress I was going through. So I scored only 3 out of 20, and I decided this is not the way I have to do my exam. So 3 days to go, and I have to change my strategy. So anyway, that was the eye opener for me, and I'm always telling people, if you have to fail exam, fail it early so that you can recover. So I was able to recover. I started looking the documents and templates in more and more detail, trying to find the differentiator between the two difference between the two documents, and looking the content in more detail. Start drawing some pictures, and start making some. It now start making sense. I didn't do my full mock exam from Ginger, but I did a lot of question one by one, and I will start feeling comfortable. Anyway, so on the 24th, I did my normal things, which I do yoga every morning, and feeling stress free. There was no stress at all on my face, and I was not feeling in stress. Reach exam center like an hour before, and they ask anybody like to do the exam early. So I started my exam around 8 o'clock. So for me, my experience was a little bit different than Daniel. I was actually hoping to see difficult question, So somehow 170 questions gone. I think I saw 3 or 4 questions which I can call myself as difficult. But anyway, 3 hours I completed the full exam, and I spent another 20 minutes, 30 minutes just to review some of the questions. And I kind of feeling comfortable, so I said, okay, let me complete the exam. So I also passed exam with above target, and with 4 above target and 1 target. So I missed in the communication part a little bit. But anyway, so it was much better result for me. 3 days before exam, I was scoring 15% to the passing exam with the above target. So yeah, so I have learned lots from that exam, and I have helped Peter Daniel into this. I already have one program going on, the fast track mentoring program, a group mentoring program, and I'm starting a few programs very soon. I will tell you more about that. So this was my result, and just to share how it's going to look like. And if you are on this side of the, in the top 2 boxes, that means you passed the exam, and any slightest, if you are on this side, you have to repeat the exam. So my suggestion, don't take chances. These PGMP, PfMP exams are a little bit tricky. Yes, you can study by yourself, but don't take chances, because once you fail, it's difficult to recover from that failure. Anyway, so it's up to you, but I will suggest take some guidance from mentors. Okay. All right. So who should actually apply for PGMP, PFMP? So someone who is highly motivated, portfolio manager, and leader, and who is interested to get recognition for their professional experience. So you are portfolio manager, but having PFMP recognized you as a portfolio manager professional. Someone who is interested to differentiate themselves from the crowd. There are lots of portfolio manager, but having PFMP will give you a differentiator. Many portfolio manager have PMP, and it's not good enough for going up to senior level. So PFMP will help you to increase the bar for yourself and go all the way to next level. Sometimes some people go for this kind of motivation first in the country, first in city, or first in state or community. So it's up to you. It is always good to find your driver. Once you know the key driver for you, that will help you, that will keep you going for a long journey, the journey. Someone who is interested to enhance the skills, of course, while going through the standards, you learn a lot, and you can see what you are doing versus what can you do better. Of course, the last point is salary and other points. So, just to give you the path, you would have to demonstrate. There are two phases, or two-step phases. One is the panel review. This is where PMI is going to review the 5 questions. So in application, just like in PGMP, PFMP also have 5 questions, and these 5 questions will be reviewed by PMI's volunteer to see if you have done the expected work. So that's where the panel review come. And what Daniel was mentioned, he has to try 3 times before his panel review is completed. So again, don't waste your time going through by trying by yourself. It requires specific. It's not about what you know. You probably know more than many other people, but it's all about how you present your experience in a PMI expected format. Okay, so I can help you with that, and yeah, we can get there. And then once you pass the panel review, you have 1 year to complete your exam, and you have 3 chances. An exam consists of 170 questions and 4 hours. So it's good news is there's no negative marking, but sometimes it can be complex exam, complex lengthy questions. So you need to manage your time very, very effectively. Okay. And after you get PFMP, just like you maintain your PMP or PGMP, you have to earn 60 PDUs, and after 3 years, you pay $60 to PMI as a member, and you can renew your PFMP. And good news about the PDUs, whatever PDU you earn from one certificate, you can pretty much apply to all other certificates. So I have a question here which she's asking about the panel review. So panel review is in application. There are 5 questions. which you're going to, this is where you're going to explain your experience as a portfolio manager. It's no physical, or this is no phone call. You don't, nobody's talking to you. Only this, only thing when going to happen in this process is somebody from PMI, or maybe your representative of PMI, going to review your 5 questions to see if you have done the required experience as the portfolio manager. All right, so who should go for what's the eligibility criteria? All the applicant must possess minimum 8 years of professional business experience. So that can be in the form of project manager, program manager, or portfolio manager, or can be business experience. The second criteria is as a secondary degree, or if you are a non-bachelor's degree holder, then you have to show 10,500 hours, that is 7 years of portfolio manager experience. And for bachelor's, 4 years bachelor's, you have to show 4 years of portfolio management experience. Application, little bit about the application. So make sure you have you spend good amount of time. It's going to take time. Just be prepared for that. If you have a lot of time, if you're not working, or it can be done in a week time. So allow 1 to 2 weeks to write your portfolio experience, and then your 5 questions very effective properly. Otherwise, these questions are, if panel review is not happy, then you will be asked to revise 2 times, and 3rd time if you still fail, then PMI will reject your application. Then you have to start the process again. My suggestion is pick 1 or 2 or 3 large portfolio. Don't write too many portfolios because that will add more time for you to, you have to explain every portfolio. And make sure they know overlapping among the portfolio. You may be running multiple 2 portfolio together, but just keep them separate for application purpose. And fill each and every field carefully, the name, address, phone number, yours, and your contacts. So PMI do send application back in case they are not happy if you miss something. And when you're writing the 5 questions, make sure you use word as I, because of me, I created, I was responsible for that, because this application is all about you. Okay. And other thing is, don't use acronym. If you have to use acronyms, that's okay, but explain them in their first use. Okay. And please don't copy and paste from other people's application, especially from my application examples, because the PMI have seen or will see more applications something similar, because people do not listen to my advice, and PMI start rejecting such application when they see something is not right. Okay. And keep your questions answered simple as possible, simple language. And do you have a mentor? I don't think I have to stress more on this. Having a right mentor will help make your journey smoother. And somebody who has done the PfMP themselves, and who is associated with REP, PMI REP, and somebody who's committed to your success. So sounds like it's me, and then please feel free to contact me. All right, so write books. There was a question previously asked by George, what books to refer. So, we already talked, Daniel also already mentioned some of the books, like a Standard for Portfolio Management 3rd edition, PMBOK 6th edition, and Examination Content Outline. And the Ginger's book is good enough. And if you are taking my mentoring program or bootcamp, you will get e-learning, the recorded videos, and my book and my Pathfinder. And I don't suggest you go for too many books. This is good enough material, and as long as you use this material effectively. The last thing you want, you have too many books and you start getting confused in exam. So how do you know ready for exam? How to make yourself ready for exam? I think it's good if you can allow 2 to 3 months of time to be realistic. You can do faster if you have more time, if you're not working at the moment. And if you can allow if you can have 4 to 6 hours a day, why not? I've seen that people doing a PGMP exam. I've not seen many people doing PfMP. Actually, PfMP has also a couple of people done in 6 or 7 weeks as well. So all gone very, very fast. No audit, panel review very fast, and they were prepared to take the exam. Okay, so consider joining a boot camp, mentoring program, and join some of the groups. LinkedIn group I mentioned. I have WhatsApp group, both called PfMP for you. And there was a question earlier, somebody asking for the link. Said yes, if you look for PfMP for you as a group name, you should be able to find. Otherwise, drop me a message. I will send you a link to that. Do lots of mock exams. So at the moment, I mean, at this, my suggestion is go for Ginger's book. It is really good book. Yes, it's very tough questions, but it's all about, as I mentioned, if you have to fail, fail now and recover from that. Make sure when you do the questions, you go back to the explanation and look at the book more carefully, because she has questions which takes you to the minute detail of the chapter. Okay. And yeah, use your time wisely. Make sure you use it properly. Do and don'ts for your exam. Have enough rest before your exam. This is very, very important. And it goes for equally good for PMP, PGMP, PFMP. You don't want to go for this 4-hour exam with stress and lack of sleep and worried. You want to make sure you are not worried. You're not stressed. So take one like next 24 hours before the exam, full rest. And I know it's difficult to leave the books, especially next day of your exam. You have to learn how to, keep yourself away from the book. And whatever you have to study, study before. But plan the last day is going to be relaxed. And make sure you do whatever you do as exercise or yoga or walking, whatever you do the normal, and that's help you to your body to stay in the same presence of active during the exam. Okay. Last week of the exam, don't do mock exams. My situation are different, but when you try to have a plan, and any exam should be done a week before. And in case you are not performing well, you can recover from that. Okay. And yeah, reach the center at least an hour before, just to beat traffic, or in case something happen in your road. So bus or trains can be delayed. So you don't want to be stressed, and these things can stress you, and the exam can be gone. Another thing is do the tutorial. 15-minute time. It will take 5 minutes to do the tutorial. It will help you to learn what are the tools available from Chromatic Center in that particular center. One of the two important thing I learned during the tutorial was, I knew about them, but I didn't know how to use. One of them was highlighter. I was able to highlight my text, and the second one was strike through. So I was able to cancel or cancel some of the but some of the options. So out of 4, generally I was able to cross out the two options. That helped me in case I'm coming back. I know which one to look now. Use your time wisely, and control your exam. Most important thing is you should control the exam, and each questions carefully. Read the questions, read the answers carefully, and use the learning from this SPM and learning from my book. That will all help you to get the exam right. Yeah, actually, I should not put Daniel, because Daniel is the one already talking about my program anyway. So just if you're interested, have a look. I mean, it's already on on my LinkedIn. So yeah, so that's fine. I don't think we have to worry too much. How can I assist you? There are various ways I can do. I'm starting fast track mentoring program very soon on 16th and 17th of this month. I will tell you about more about this. And Daniel attended my personal mentoring program. There are people who like to have their own time, one-to-one, with flexibility in time and date. That's best personal mentoring program will help you. But the fast track mentoring program will help people who want to learn in a group, not only from me but also from the group discussion. And that also give you, help you to build your study group as well. And the people who cannot afford, maybe the money point of view or maybe the timing point of view, the recording mentoring program can also work. But for recording mentoring program, you have to be very disciplined. People get excited, they're okay, I'm saving money. But if in this case you don't have any follow-up, and you still have my support, But in my fast track mentoring program, every week I'm asking questions: what is going on, how's going. So you have kind of ongoing support versus recorded. Yes, you have, you will be by your own. And PfMP bootcamp, time to time, I do announce which will PfMP bootcamp. So I think next program will be in Mumbai, sorry, in Bangalore and Dubai. Hopefully, maybe I'm able to put one program in US. So I'm coming to US in April and May. I've not declared any program, but if I have interest from PfMP in few people, I may able to add one program. But keep an eye on my announcements. So what you're going to get from my in any of the programs, you'll get complete reference guide in the form of e-learning. You can also ask for hard copy and recorded sessions. So these are recorded sessions which are recorded from the group entry program, and you will be able to participate in 6 hours of live session. This is where you have opportunity to discuss your what you're struggling with, or the questions, or we'll do 20 questions from 2 chapters. So yeah, this is where you're going to learn how to get the right answer in the shortest time. And of course, you get PDUs from this my program. And you also have 1 hour of pre-exam strategy session where I will be checking your readiness to make sure you're done what you're supposed to do. And if something is still lacking, I will guide you to that, or maybe maybe we defer the exam. So this is very important session. So please book the exam. If you're part of my program, you can book the exam at this session, and I will help you with some common tips, common sense as well, which will help you in the exam. Challenges, Pathfinder, probably Daniel already mentioned about these 2 things. You'll get all this thing part of your session. And application support is there. That comes with video. It comes with a handbook and 2 examples, and I will review your draft application, make sure it's ready to be approved by PMI. So that's where Daniel got benefit from my support application point of view. And the training support, the post training, you will have support, unlimited support till you pass your exam. So that's one is given. So next 2 program, the mentoring program coming up. One is in UK time. UK time work for most people in Australia and India and Middle East and European countries. And US time will work for US, Canada, and of course in New Zealand and Australia, plus South America as well. So to register, you can simply go to my website and look for programs. Under programs, you can find the mentoring programs. Okay, so this is a picture where we are having live session with Daniel. With the hat on, early morning. Yeah. So for people interested to have a discussion about whether they're eligible or what to do, you can book an appointment with me. Just simply go to the website, my name and .co, dharamsingh.co. Very straightforward. So this will give you, option to book some time with me, and I will be more than happy to give you 15-20 minutes to guide you about your PfMP journey. Right. Any questions? So let me quickly see the questions board. Slide. Okay. There's so many books. Okay. No, that's fine. We already answered that. Please explain. The panel review is already done. How much PMBOK material you have to go through? Oops. Yeah. So PMBOK, I think mainly from earned value and some of the concepts. Is that right, Daniel?
Not very much. I mean, it's the part that you have to go through is important, but the PMBOK version 6 is a huge book, and I wouldn't. I guess you'd have to read more than maybe 50 pages out of it total.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah. So not much to read, but still, I mean, Daniel's saying because he was PMP and he was very much familiar with PMBOK concept. So things like the Delphi technique or Ishikawa diagram, yes, it's coming from PMBOK, but it's not mentioned in SPM, but it can be useful to know. So one thing you can do is reading PMBOK from the glossary part. Look at the glossary and some of the key terms, which I normally tell in my class, which part to read. But don't spend too much time on PMBOK. Okay, any question, any clarification? We are on time, just time now. If you have last minute question, please ask question. So there's a question from Sid. Do they test you on the PPM tool? Like, not really. No. Exam is not about tool. It's about understanding of standard and examination content outline in PMBOK. Don't wait too much about tools, which tool to use, which not to use. It's all about your process and how you manage your portfolio. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you, and you will get the recording. So please feel free to watch the recording and share the recording with your friends. And I'd like to thank Daniel for his time. It was really useful, and I'm sure many people will get benefit from your learning. So thank you, and thanks all for spending time with us. And so I know some people are very early morning, but I think it's worth spending time with us. So yeah, so see you around. Thank you guys. Take care.
Best of luck.
Yeah, good luck everyone.